Came across this Muslim YouTuber named Canyon Mimbs who's spreading lies about Hinduism, so in this video we'll go ahead and debunk his arguments.
I can prove to you that Hinduism is a completely pagan religion in less than 60 seconds.
Hinduism never claims to be paganism or not to be paganism. The word pagan is derived from the Latin word paganus, which translates to something like village people or people from the countryside. It originally got popular during the Christianization of Greece. People in the cities tried to follow Christianity, while people in the countryside held on to the indigenous Hellenistic religion. Over time, that term evolved into the broader word pagan. The word pagan has a lot of different meanings and really depends on the context and who is saying it. Some say the word pagan just refers to any non-Abrahamic religion, which would include Hinduism. Others say it means a follower of a native European religion, or some would say it's just a follower of a polytheistic religion. Hinduism could fit into any of these categories, but it also could not. It's really up to your definition. It is not offensive to call Hinduism a pagan religion.
Point number one is they have millions of gods. They have a bunch of different gods, but what they say is the bunch of different gods are all a variation of their one god.
I would say this is only half true. Yes, a lot of Hindus do believe that many different deities are different manifestations of the singular divine god, the Brahman. But this is just one interpretation, and definitely not what all Hindus believe. Vaishnavites will say Vishnu is the Parabrahman or the supreme god, and Shaivites will say that Shiva is the Parabrahman, and so on and so on.
That's what they believe, but I'll get more to that later. We'll come down to it right here where they have gods that have human traits. Okay, so they have gods that have died, they have gods that lie, they have gods that do sin. So you're worshiping something that has the traits of humans. It's starting to sound a little bit like paganism, but we're not fully there yet.
God can take a human form. We call this an avatar. Avatars do not die. Their material body dies, but they are eternal because they are God. Krishna is always existent, previous to his human birth and after his human birth. This is because the ultimate divine reality, the Brahman, exists beyond time, space, and material limitation. Human life is not black and white, and there's a lot of complexity. The different stories involving God, quote-unquote, sinning reflect that complexity. Sometimes a divine figure acts in ways that may seem morally complicated at first glance, but the larger purpose is the restoration of righteousness and the cosmic order. It reflects the reality that moral decisions are often made with complex circumstances, where the right action is not always obvious.
Statues. Oh, now we've got there. Boom. As a Hindu, you can build a statue and then worship it, and then they believe that statue is going to somehow help them. Now, their explanation is that no, that statue's channeling to real God. Okay, why would you not just ask God, why do you need a statue to channel to God? Start to sound a lot like paganism here.
This is just Muslim brain rot. Hindus do not believe the stone, metal, or clay itself is the ultimate god. One can worship God without a murti. In fact, many Hindus pray through mantra, meditation, and direct devotion without any physical image. But the murti is a recommended tool to help the distracted mind focus on God.
And then number three, boom, boom, boom. They worship animals. They worship things like cows.
This is another common lie Muslims will say about Hinduism. Hindus do not worship cows as God. The cow is respected and revered because it symbolizes nourishment and life, but reverence is not the same thing as worship. For example, Muslims revere the Kaaba as a sacred site and face it during prayer, but no Muslim will tell you the stone itself is God.
This video is only for people who believe in Hinduism. I want you to know that your religion is not the first religion. Hindus claim that the Hindu religion is the oldest religion, but that is not true. The first human on planet Earth was Adam, and Adam, peace be upon him, was a Muslim. And if he was a Muslim, that means that Islam was the first religion. Islam came before Christianity, came before Hinduism, came before Judaism. Get your facts right. Hinduism is not the oldest religion.
If we're going down this thinking, we can also say that Hinduism comes from God and Islam comes from Muhammad, and so that means Hinduism is the oldest. But this argument has a problem. It confuses theological belief with historical evidence. Saying that Adam was the first human and that he was a Muslim is a belief that comes from Islamic theology. When Hindus are saying that Hinduism is the oldest religion, we are speaking from a historical and academic viewpoint, not necessarily a theological one.
I can prove to you that Hinduism, Christianity, and Judaism are all false religions in 45 seconds. Let's start with Hinduism. There's millions of gods. How can you have millions of gods and worship one god? Which god's the truth? Which god are you supposed to follow?
Okay, we already covered this, but since it's keep getting repeated, let's address it briefly. Hinduism has many lowercase g gods. These are called devas. Different Hindu traditions understand the divine differently. For example, some traditions see Vishnu as the Parabrahman, the supreme reality, while others see Shiva as supreme. At the same time, many Hindus believe these are different manifestations or ways of relating to the one ultimate reality. Existence of many deities does not mean that there are many competing supreme gods.
They have statues. You can make your own statue, worship that statue. How can you expect something that you worship is worthy of worship because you made it? That doesn't make any sense.
Again, we already discussed this earlier, but the statue itself is not God. It's just a tool like any other tool. We can say the same thing about Muslims praying towards the Kaaba. Muslims don't view the Kaaba as God, but they pray towards it. Hindus pray to God, not to statues.
And number three, there's so many contradictions. They have a million different paths to get to God, but all the different paths all contradict each other.
Okay, let's apply the same logic to Islam. So Islam has multiple different denominations and subgroups within it. You got Sunni Islam, Shiite Islam, Ibadi Islam, Sufi Islam. So which Islam is the truth? They all say slightly different things about what Islam actually believes, but it's all one religion. Having multiple schools within a religion does not automatically make it contradictory. The same principle applies to Hinduism. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you have any thoughts, please leave it in the comments. Bye bye.